My guy Ari Melber is back on the Cruz show
Ari.
from the beat,
What's up, everybody?
MSNBC at 6 p.m. MSNBC chief legal correspondent Ari, my guy. How you feel, man? I've been watching you, and you've been covering like your thing, bro.
Thank you, man. It's teamwork, and it's everything from the poll workers and all the government officials out there, because we're just going day after day to, those of us in the press, working the extra shifts. It's a fun time.
Yes, sir. Now, this is something that we've never seen before. We are, my man, go ahead and enjoy that slice.
Ooh, what kind of pizza is that? Is that white sauce?
That's a slice. That's like half a pie.
That's good. That looks delicious.
Hey, we've never seen an election like this, right? Like, this is just something different. This is out of this world.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought that we would be living through a pandemic, living through this circus of an election. And do you see this coming to an end anytime soon, or maybe early 2021? Ari, what do you think?
I think we're close, and I think the bottom line is, I'll hit you with a lyric off the top. Very simple.
Yes, sir.
J. Cole ATM, count it up, count it. And that's what it is. It's that simple.
Yeah.
It's not complicated. And anyone telling you not to count it is mad suspect, right?
Yeah.
And I don't say that has nothing to do with whether you like Donald Trump or what he stands for. That's just not a good sign. And so that's why even Republicans today, Mitch McConnell out here being like, no, we're going to count every vote. So even if you don't like Mitch McConnell for other reasons, let's come together on one thing, which is this is still a democracy. No politician could change that. He could talk crazy. Last night, we fact check it, we move on, but we deal with it. But we don't even give it too much attention because you know what? We're going to finish the count. I'm speaking to you here Friday. If it takes longer than Friday, so be it. But we're going to finish the count. And if anybody has questions about it, we have a process for that. I'm not like someone who says, oh, America's perfect. No, America's a work in progress. But there are some things that we know how to do. We've been doing elections, and we know how to do them. So people can take some faith in that, I believe.
I believe so as well. Yeah, man. But like this could be going on for a while now, way past what's happening now, right? If Donald Trump decides to go through all of his lawsuits, God knows how many he has lined up, right? This could be drug out along with us. We can be dragged with this as well for a very long time, right?
I would tell you that there's not a lot of lawsuits right now that could change the outcome.
Wow, that's good news. That's good news.
Yeah, that's really, really good to know. Has it ever happened in history where there's been a recount? Like right now, Biden's kind of in the lead, right? And has it ever happened where there's been a recount and then it turns out that the person that wasn't in the lead is in the lead?
So that's a great question. In state races, right, where you only track in one state, the vast majority of recounts do not change the outcome. But when the margin is under about 500 votes, it can. So, for example, in the Minnesota Senate race with Al Franken, it was a couple hundred, and it actually changed the outcome. So the reason why it's harder to do that in a presidential is obviously you have multiple states. So if you're up, hypothetically, by 2 states, and the margins are maybe a little bit close, you would need the bank shot of it being margins of just a couple hundred votes and overturning them, both the margins in both states or 3 states. So mathematically, you're getting down to very, very low odds. So I know that sometimes it all adds up and people feel like, wait, like, is it real? What's real? What's final? But we're going towards again, anything could, if it changes, I'll tell you. But right now we're going towards a situation where I don't see margins or cases that are appealable to change the outcome. So that doesn't mean I could tell you the end, but I can tell you it's not going to change the end.
Yeah.
So if you look up and see, then there you go.
Will Trump eventually have to concede and make a speech, or can he opt out and we'll have to live with that?
Yeah, no, he doesn't. He does not have to be classy.
Well, he has.
And we've seen lots of that in
Ari,
4 years.
As well. He's very clear on that as well.
I got a question. You think in future elections, they're going to find a way to modify the way votes are counted? I mean, in regards to like efficiency, speed?
I mean, there are a lot of problems with our voting, including the barriers to voting. You shouldn't have to wait in line 3 hours to do something. That's your right. And that is economic discrimination, because depending on your job and your boss and your life, that may not be something that you can easily reschedule or accommodate. We've seen voter ID rules that are really unfair and that discriminate against minorities, as well as some of the elderly and disabled. And we have a long history of racist voter suppression in this country. So there's tons that needs to change. I don't even think it's as much about mail ballots. That's sort of Donald Trump's obsession. Mail ballots work really well in a lot of places. Washington State has all mail ballots. They don't call them mail ballots, they call them ballots.
Right.
And it's all
Right.
mail. You mail it or you drop it off. And think about that. It'd be like, I don't know, it depends on where you live, but like when you need a new ID, right? And it's like some states will let you just update the ID by mail, right? Most people aren't like, no, I need to go into the DMV. I want to have that experience.
Said no one ever.
No.
So
DMV trash.
So that's his. I think the real issues we have are about discrimination and racism and other crackdowns, partisan crackdowns. And let's not forget, we don't know when the 270 call is going to be here. I'm talking to you on Friday, but we know that more people voted for Biden. We know he got more votes than Obama, more votes than anyone in history now. And we know that in 7 of the last 8 presidential elections, more people voted for the Democrat. 7 of the last 8. But twice we had the Republican win the Electoral College because of the system. And so one of the things that you see now as well is we see part of the Republican Party try to take a stance of, well, they think they lose if too many people vote, so they want fewer people to vote. That's also wrong. You know, so there's bigger stuff there's bigger stuff than Trump.
You think voting or election day should be a paid holiday?
Yeah, I think if you want to make this the highest participation possible, then you want to make it we have holidays for other random stuff. We've got some important holidays. We got some random holidays. We're a democracy. What's more important than that? So whether you make it a new holiday or you move a holiday, that's kind of a, you know, like, why don't we make President's Day a federal paid holiday that lands on voting day? And that also will remind you, yo, what's up? What day is it? Oh, it's President's Day, right? Oh, do you want a new president? Make sure you vote today.
Yeah.
Or like jury duty, you're summoned, right? Why don't we have a summons for voting? Here's your date. Here's your location. Paid, no work for you this day. Go vote. Yeah,
I think
that's a great idea.
People, look, you have the right. It's like you look at, there's some radical thinkers like Malcolm X would say at times, depending on the choices, I choose not to participate. That's my choice, right? Because the system's bad. So if somebody wants to choose not to vote, that's their choice as well. Like you have the freedom of speech in this country. You also have the freedom not to speak. Right. So someone's like, oh, the government wants to find out if you're a communist. You have the right to say, no, I'm not. I don't have to tell you that. But so people who choose not to vote is fine legally, I would say. But like it should be clear and easy. Why is it easier to get an Uber than to vote? Because I would tell you, voting is more important than what time you get to the club. And now we don't even have the club for now.
Speaking of club, what song would you use to describe this election?
Well, for half the country, I think it was YG F Donald Trump.
Quite frankly.
And I think that like there's a concept in political science called negative partisanship, which is just a fancy way of saying sometimes you vote against someone more than for someone, you know?
Yeah.
And I think there are plenty of people who are like, on the one hand, Joe Biden's sitting on the most votes ever, which is wild. On the other hand, you saw the Democratic Party in the primary. I'm just doing real talk here. Yeah. They were looking for anybody but Joe Biden. Like, what about him? What about her? Wait, something else. New Hampshire's an important state. He was 5th. He wasn't 2nd. He wasn't 3rd. He was 5th. Yeah. So the Democratic Party was looking around, but then they settled on him. And I think a lot of Americans they think he's a nice guy, but they were looking around at different options, right? But I do think way more people were very clearly on that YG energy.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
So that would be one. But I also think there might be, we'll see. I want to follow the facts. But if there's a corner rounded, there may be also some Kendrick vibes of we're going to be all right.
Right.
Wow. Yep.
Well, we hope so.
Love that.
Hopefully.
Ari, you bring up a good point. You say it's a fancy way of saying this. I think when it comes to political stuff, that's usually they word things kind of hard to understand for the normal average human being like myself. Why do they do that?
I hate that. You're right. Lawyers do that all the time.
Right.
It's like, just tell me how it is.
Yeah.
I wasn't like, on the one hand, I'm a lawyer, right? Like I'm a Jewish Brooklyn lawyer. That's what I am.
Right. That's right.
So I'm not saying anything other than what I am. But I'd be in law school sometimes and they'd be like, Well, if one side would prevail on the facts of the case without the need for trial, that would be called summary judgment. And I would be sitting there being like, so they lose? So
Right.
I
What
feel
does that
like
mean?
you're
Bro.
making it really complicated because you're saying their case is so weak they lose. We don't need a trial. Like that's if I was talking to a client, right? I would say, how nervous do I have to be? We're not even being trial, man. We're gonna win on summary judgment. I wouldn't say that to them. I would just say their case is so weak we don't even have to go to trial.
Wow.
I mean,
that's,
was it not?
that's it. Exactly.
Was it not Nas who said, "Imagine going to court with no trial"?
You feel me? You feel me? If I rule,
Dang, Ari.
let's go.
Oh, so with everything, I mean, we've heard, Trump owes so much money, to the IRS, to the taxes. If he doesn't win this election, is there a possibility that he will have to go to prison?
I can't really predict or speak on that.
Mm-hmm.
What I'll tell you is there's a lot of evidence that he skirted or broke the law, and he has gotten away with it. If you're asking me, does an ex-president with legal problems face as much accountability as a regular citizen?
Mhm.
I would say historically, no.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying whether that's right or wrong, but even remember, Richard Nixon broke so many laws,
Big time.
he put his attorney general in prison. So the guy he put it to enforce the law ended up in prison, and he was leaving the White House early. Trump didn't leave early, and they still issued a pardon, partly as a deal, but partly because there's this weird, perhaps wrong sense in American law that because the chief executive enforces the law, they're different. That's why there's these DOJ rules that you can't indict them while in office. And then there's a mood, and maybe this will change, but there's a mood like there was with Nixon, like, because Watergate, everyone hated Nixon. Democrats picked up all these seats afterward. It wasn't like they liked him, but there was this mood at the time of like, well, we need to move on. We don't want to just put the president on trial. But other countries have put former chief executives on trial. So my thing is I try to be really clear with the facts and be fair. And so like, I'm not here making headlines about, oh, here's what's going to happen next with him in prison. But I could tell you, it seems like he broke tax law. I mean, the New York Times investigation suggests that. Like you can't just like, if Cruz over here just stopped paying taxes for a few years.
I did. I mean, I have.
He's good now. He
Good
fixed
now,
it.
good now.
He fixed it.
I was just going to say, like,
Yo, I'm tripping.
you'd probably hear about it.
Yeah,
Probably,
it'd be Akon. I'm locked up. They won't let me out.
But they will lock me up, dog. Trust me, bro. Quick, no trial. Guilty. Done. Yo, hey, Ari, man, the civil unrest, man, do you think it'll amplify when a certain candidate isn't necessarily elected as the president or, pushed out or cheated? You know what I'm saying? What do you think that'll look like in our streets?
well, here's the other thing. I mean, one of the problems that Donald Trump posed here for 4 years consecutive was getting everyone to think along the worst lines, worst case scenario. And it's like, we're 3 days into this. As we speak at this moment, right? We haven't had a lot of real big problems. We've had a couple protests here and there. We haven't had violence of any discernible degree this week. I think that's a positive. And I think the protests earlier this year were a product of many things, but they were largely peaceful and they were largely about democracy and social change. And so I think one of the interesting things, if Biden were to become president, would be where does that social movement go? I don't think any politician particularly gets a pass. And I pointed out in my reporting, systemic racism has been historically bipartisan. And a lot of the places that have big problems, LA, Chicago, these are police departments that are overseen by Democratic mayors. So you got to deal with that. Now, does that mean it's all false equivalence? It's all the same? No, I can document for you why in Congress you had a lot of Democrats passing voting rights law, criminal justice reform, those kind of things, and a lot of Republicans blocking it. I'm not saying it's all the same. Sometimes on Instagram, you get someone say, well, they're all politicians.
Right.
Okay, yeah, and they're all basketball players. But some are better than others.
Yeah.
So it's not all the same, but I don't think any president gets a pass. And the movement we saw this year was very important because it took things beyond any one incident and said, are we ever going to do what the founders said? Are we ever going to live up to that creed? Martin Luther King said, I'm not asking you to do anything you didn't lie about and claim you were going to do. So just do it. you said all people were created equal. Let's finally make that real. Let's not be shooting people down in the street for no reason. I mean, that's basic. That's not a big ask.
No, it's not. That's just, I mean, that's just normal, I think, right? I mean, that's just like, yo, that shouldn't be something we have to ask for, right? Yo, you're anchoring a special election coverage today, 1 p.m. MSNBC, right?
Yeah, I just did. So I'm like, this is why you guys matter, because I know I got to hang out with you once pre-COVID in the studio, and I love that.
Yeah,
love
man.
what you guys do. And then, so we still fit this in. So I was anchoring dayside, and then tonight I'm normally on at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. But if the news breaks different, sometimes we change it up. But that's currently the plan.
That's right, man. Ari, listen, man, you're a very busy guy. Thank you very much for helping us
Thank
out
you.
and informing us and our listener family as well.
Appreciate you guys. Everyone, you can find me at Ari Melber, ARIMELBER, on any social platform. But really, it's all about the gram right now. So just go there.
It's all about the gram, my G. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for real. Now I know what I'm having for lunch. Thank you.
Hey, to quote you when you was on TV, it goes down in the DM, my guy. My G. Thank you very much, Ari.
All the voter data.
That's right.
Peace out, everybody.
I appreciate you guys.